Also that video with that dog with the mouse. That's
All
watch it.
secret. I have.
Oh yeah.
Dude, you get that all you can eat breakfast and go to Crown.
Or you can just
so funny.
eat cereal at your house.
Sebastian!
It's not as good as a buffet where you got bacon, sausage.
Do you have them like that? No.
Bacon sausage.
Before the mouse video, there was one and he was like,
Who's-
"Good, go, that's my 52-inch TV on my front
Yeah.
porch."
You got bacon, sausage.
Someone could have stole that. I know Sebastian was going to go get it.
Look at it. Looks like he eats plenty of bacon, so it's not in the back. That have been the mystery.
Alright, we got function operations today. Operations meaning adds, subtract, multiply, divide. Function meaning it can be written in function notation. So f of x, g of x, h of x, q of x, whatever. That's function notation. So first thing we're going to do here, we've got f of x is equal to 3 times the square root of x. That's not a cube root, that's 3 times the square root of x. F of x is equal to 3 times the square root of x. G of x is equal to negative 10 times the square root of x. Okay? So first thing we're going to do here is we're going to find what f plus g of x is. It's the first job. After we do that, we're going to then find out what would solve for when x is equal to 4. Okay, so we'll find f plus g of 4. All right. So, easy schmeezy stuff on this. It looks fancy because you got all these f of x's and all that kind of stuff. But all we're asking for right here is take the f function, if there's any like terms, add them to the g function. That's it. So we got 3 square roots of x, that's the f function, plus negative 10 square roots of x. Are those like terms that I can combine? Yeah. 3 of these plus negative 10 of those gets me negative 7 of them. So that would be your first answer for f plus g of x. We just combined those like terms. Nothing to it. You've been doing that since middle school. No, that's what we're going to do next. Now we're going to say, what's f plus g when we plug a 4 in? Okay?
Is it always going to be a 4?
No.
Whatever they want.
Yeah, just some random number.
They could be 3 million.
Yeah, that'd be harder to work in your head, but it could be. You're right. All right, so we're to the 4 now that y'all were asking about. So I already got my f plus g answer, so I'm going to do negative 7 times the square root of 4. I just plug 4 in. What's the square root of 4? 2. 2 times negative 7. That's it. You got it, dude.
No, she just circled it for 3.
Yeah.
Dude, I was so good. Oh, really?
Maybe you must have opened up the room.
Water.
Right.
They can't break it with the
Came out.
You missed the beach, buddy.
It came out.
I was going to be great. I said, "Look, there's no that.
I did not know what where I
I forgot your name.
I guess I should start adding her.
Okay, this is just like what we just did together. I want you to try it on your own. You got f of x is 5 square roots of x. G of x is negative 8 square roots of x. I want you to find f plus g of x. Then once you find that, I want you to find f plus g of 16. Okay, try that one on your own. Go.
Yeah, you got it right.
What's more than the edge right there, boy? What you do?
Guys, y'all know what you're supposed to be doing.
Plug in some numbers. Cause they got a hole in it, so I can't put it in the thing. Ooh, like some jerky on the dehydrated.
No way.
I've got it.
Here, jerky.
You know what I'm putting?
Like turkey jerky. That looks like.
Yep.
Yeah, jerky.
Alright, for f plus g of x, Dalton, what'd you get?
-3.
Alright, Dalton says that 5 square roots of x plus -8 square roots of x is -3 square roots of x, and he is exactly correct. Great job, Mr. Davis. Alright, now, for f plus g of 16, Jody, what'd you get? -12. Okay, let's check that out. We plug a 16 in here. Square root of 16 is 4. 4 times -3 is -12. Fantabulastic. Everybody good on those?
Yeah.
Not too shabby.
I don't think you good on the top.
We got several more to do.
What?
Chris?
Busted one at the same time.
How many got out of the class? Oh, whoa.
Showed
Oh,
I
really?
didn't get the first one. I definitely
Oh,
got the
it's
rest.
distributed by Walmart stores.
Same thing.
Big bill.
Just
Bona
a
fide.
little bit more.
Alright, here we've got f of x is 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus 5. G of x is x cubed minus 3x squared plus 4x minus 2. We change what we're finding now on number 1. We're subtracting. You see that on number 1 we're going to do f minus g of x. Then after that we'll find f minus g of -2. Those are minus signs in there.
Let me get it wrote down so I can listen.
Are we doing this on our own?
I was waiting on Landon. And you could be working it on your own. It's not too bad. Alright, so we're subtracting this time, so be careful with your signs. I'm just remembering that I can only subtract like terms. So the order on subtraction is important. F function has to come first. That matters on subtraction. So if I start looking for like terms, 3x cubed minus 1x cubed. What does that get us? 2x cubed. Okay, here I've got a -2x squared minus a -3x squared. Be careful on those signs. -2 minus -3.
Is it -5?
Be 1. Very good.
There we go.
Positive 1x squared. Alright, now when I'm looking in the f function, the f of x, there's no x to the first. So that's like the same as saying 0x, there's not an x over here. 0x minus 4x. -4x. Good, Chloe.
Yeah.
And then to my constants, 5 minus -2.
Plus 7.
Plus 7 is correct. So there's your first answer. Good job.
I don't know why you kept saying mine.
It's just a subtraction problem.
Throw me off.
Now we've got to solve that for what did I say, -2? So we got to put a -2 in all of those x's. So it's going to be 2 times -2 cubed plus -2 squared minus 4 times -2 plus 7. Why did I put -2 in? Because that's what the problem asked for. Okay, so -2 cubed, that's -8 times 2 is -16. -2 squared is a positive 4. -4 times -2 is a positive 8. And then 7.
Negative 16 plus 4.
I think I give up.
Okay, so negative 16 plus
It's
4
3.
is
It's
negative
3.
12. And then negative 12 plus 15 is 3.
It's 3.
Huh? Yeah, cheat sometimes.
Alright, kill any ducks?
Connor got him a pretty mallard he was gonna mount. He said he shot it, and had a picture of him holding the live duck. And I said, how'd you kill it? He said, I just laid it aside and let it die. So he just let the duck suffer.
Watch, we'll see you in an hour.
That's second.
Found it, don't bring it back, it's all there. Hey,
Picture lighted
it's all good for a picture.
Trevor. Trevor.
Look at his hair. It's just right above the floor.
I saw it.
Bothers I was straightening my hair.
What?
Hair.
Get back to the wall,
Sounds
Trevor.
like a new
I'm
style.
straightening Gabe thing.
Yeah, you really never shake your hair, that's gonna
I'll take it and I'll.
You ever straighten your
That
hair?
way,
I did it one
Jay.
time, and it looked like, you know, straighten it tomorrow now. You were straightening his hair.
Probably looks like
That
Kid
was
Rock.
Who's the dude who has like really straight
Alright, this is
blonde
just like the one we just did. Try this one on your own. F of x, gotta be quiet, f of x is 2x cubed plus 4x squared minus 8x plus 4. G of x is 3x cubed minus 5x squared plus 6x minus 9. First thing you're going to do is subtract them. Number 1, f minus g of x. Second thing you're going to do is solve when it's negative 1. F minus g of negative 1.
We're doing this one.
Yep.
Oh, no, I got drill.
Like wings.
I get to go run the signal. Why'd you do that?
Wait, how do we know this? It's subtraction.
They'll tell you, like number 1, it's got the minus sign. So you'll have to be told.
Okay.
Jordan.
Come on, y'all work. So.
I am working.
I don't know who this.
We'll do it. Be cool. Nothing wrong. You're slow, though. I know how to do it. Huh? What? You better be scared. You subtract them?
No,
No, you want to
You don't. You lied to me.
that's what you gotta do.
I do. See?
There you
Come
go.
on, don't go fast. Go. What are you doing? No, we'll do it again.
So any number that's squared or cubed or whatever is just gonna end up being negative anyways. The negative 2 squared is negative 4.
No, it's not.
I gotta be there at 4.
Calculator says.
I know what negative 2 times negative 2 is.
Yeah.
Do a little breakfast and then get to go
The
run.
lots of calculators
You
say
put it in wrong. When you put it in, you gotta put a parentheses.
oh.
Not all day.
Bless you.
I get to our lunch though. Huh? I ain't there. I was on the negative. Going to get it for free.
X cubed
That's
would-
pretty good.
And the negative 1 is
That's some good
1.
old
So
fried
when you
chicken.
cube, it'll be negative. The negative times negative times negative is a negative.
3
Yeah,
pieces
and you have the
fried
negative on the
Oh,
outside.
Big old
yes.
slab
So
of
then you
that.
come back to
Yes.
positive.
Gravy.
Born.
Baked beans.
Oh, wait, no,
Fish.
What, Trevor?
Number 1, that's the first step. F minus G. So you see F up top, and you see G on your own.
Easy.
You're gonna subtract.
Do you have the
like
answer
like
to it?
terms, 2x to the third minus 3x to the third. What does that give? Well, whatever it gets you, you write down. And then you do 4x to the second minus 5x sits down there. Minus negative 5x. And then negative x minus 6 and then
Yeah, 2 8 minus 6. Negative 8 minus 6. It's negative 14.
Alright, I'm doing this right.
All right, Landon, what is your x cubed? And your first answer. What'd you get just for the first one for your x cubed?
Negative x.
Very good. 2x cubed minus 3x cubed is negative 1x cubed. Very good. Chrislyn, what'd you get for your x squares? Very good. 4 minus negative 5 is a positive 9. Very good. All right, on my x's, Gabe, what'd you get on your x's?
For x, I got negative 14x.
Good job. Negative 8 minus 6 is negative 14. Okay, for your constant, Chloe, what do you get on your constant?
Positive 13.
Very good. 4 minus negative 9 is a positive 13. So there will be your first answer. Now for your second answer, you've got to plug the negative 1 in for all the x's. So that'll be negative 1 cubed plus 9 times negative 1 squared minus 14 times negative 1 plus 13. All right, negative 1 cubed, negative 1 is negative 1 is negative 1, stays negative 1, but then times another negative turns that to a positive 1. Negative 1 squared is 1, so 1 times 9 is 9. Negative 14 times negative 1 is a positive 14. So that's 10 plus 14 is 24, plus 13 is 37. Good job. All right, we've added and subtracted. Ready to multiply?
oh,
Woohoo!
You got it.
Now you gotta divide.
After the multiply, yeah.
So I would have to do.
What'd you say?
We got a big.
Yeah, that's not big. I just put the question in there saying it's not big.
how?
You know hot Cheetos before me?
She's like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Not doing it.
Yes, middle of next week.
What's there gonna be on these?
I'm not sure yet.
All
right. We've got f of x is equal to x squared. G of x is equal to the square root of x. This one they ask us, number 1, to find fg. That means f times g. When the letters are right next to each other, that means you're multiplying. So that's what we're looking at here. We've got to figure out what x squared times the square root of x is. Now the dilemma is they're written in different forms. This one's written in exponential form because it's got an exponent. This one's written in radical form because it's got a radical. In order for me to be able to multiply them, I need to write them in the same form.
Correct.
Recomendo. Exactamendo.
Or do you have, what you said you wanted to do there?
Exactamendo.
Pretty sure that's one of the ones I just picked C on.
You're going to have to use your power over root shortcuts. Okay, hey, simmer down. So this is an understood square root with an understood first power, right? So this would be the same as x to the 1/2, wouldn't it? So now I've got exponential and I've got exponential. So to multiply those, I'm going to say x squared times x to the 1/2. I had to know that square rooting was the same as 1/2 power. I rewrote it using power over root, power over root, power over root. Now,
that?
think back. What's what?
G of x equals.
Square root of x to the first power.
Ooh, that's hard.
Now, think back to our power rules. When you've got same base and you're multiplying, what do you do with the exponents? Add them. Very good. So 2 plus 1/2. That's 2 1/2. In rational exponent form, that would be the same as 5/2. So
Write these notes down.
that's it. That's your first answer. You multiply them.
Alright, so then you gotta multiply, 5 passes.
No, I think.
Okay, then for our next answer, number 2, we plug a 9 in, so we got to figure out what 9 to the 5 halves power is. It's like your bell ringer. I can do that somewhat without, because I know power over root. I know the square root of 9 is 3. 3 to the 5th is going to get big though. 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. Times 3 is 81. Times 3 I think is 243. Is it just 243 or do I need to be positive, negative?
Positive.
Very good. My root's even.
Oh my god.
She's done it.
That's a big number.
343.
So the dilemma on that, the first thing you had to do was rewrite them in the same form. Once you got that, you could use your notes to remember your product rule and all of that stuff. Let's do another one of those. Okay, okay.
I don't get it. I get the first one. I'm so confused that. We literally had 7 people working. Because usually we have like 12 people.
All right. Here we've got f of x is x cubed, and g of x is the square root of x. We're going to do the same thing in the first one. We're going to find f times g of x, and then in the second one, we're going to find f times g of 4. Alright, walk through this one with you one more time. I'm multiplying them. So I've got to multiply x cubed times the square root of x. I cannot multiply them when they're in different forms like that. So I need to rewrite the square root of x with an exponent. Okay, so I'm going to keep f of x the same, x cubed. What would the square root of x be if I changed that square root to a power? It's the same as on the last problem. Dalton's right. It's x to the 1/2. Okay? Everybody all right on that? Remember, side note over here, that's an understood square root if there's nothing written in it. And that's an understood first power if there's no power there. Power over root. Power over root. Square root's the same as the 1/2 power. Okay, now we've got same base. So we keep that base. What do you do with exponents when it's multiplied? Add them. So what's 3 plus a half? 3 halves, 3 and a half, which would be 7 halves. That's it. That's your answer on that part. Now we do, for the second one, we do 4 to the 7 halves power. Square root of 4 is 2. Not 2 times 7. Square root of 4 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Times 2 is 8.
128.
Times 2 is 16. Times 2 is 32. Times 2 is 64. Times 2 is 128. Does it get a plus minus? Does it get a plus minus?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Kind of goofy.
Yeah.
Alright, f of x is 6x. Nothing fancy about that, just good old 6x. G of x is x to the 3/4. That's a 3/4 power. G of x is x to the 3/4. This time, look what we've done. We've switched to our last gear on this division. We've added, subtracted, and multiplied. Now we're dividing. Okay? Right, set it up just like it says. F of x divided by g of x. I didn't have to worry about rewriting either of those because they're already in the same form. This x is like an understood x to the first, right? So it doesn't have a radical, so I don't got to worry about that. Alright. So if I look at only coefficients, what's the understood coefficient here?
1.
So what's 6 divided by 1? Okay. Then we've got division with same base. So I take that base. What do you do with your exponents when you divide? Very good. You subtract. Last two problems we were multiplying, so we added. Now we're dividing, so we're going to subtract. That's an understood 1. So I'm looking at 1 minus 3/4, which is 1/4. So we have 6x to the 1/4. That's it. Now, is that 1/4 on the x, on the 6, or on both?
The x.
Just the x. Very good. Very good. If it was on both, we would have it in parentheses. Very good. So that's that. Now, number 2, we got to plug a 16 in. So I'm going to do 6 times 16 to the 1/4. So if I'm working this without a calculator, I want to figure out what 16 to the 1/4 is first, and then multiply it by 6. Okay, so the 4th root of 16, Stephen says, is 2. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, so that's correct. So I get a 2 from here, and then times 6, which is 12. You could type that in like that in your calculator and get the same answer.
Are you serious?
I know you
That look just like you, dude. Oops, swallowed. Look how much her person she was walking around.
How do you have longer left?
He thinks in church.
Don't be looking like Do you actually?
Alright, I want you to try this one. F of x is equal to 4x. G of x is equal to x to the 2/3. Number 1, find what f divided by g of x is. Number 2, find what f divided by g of 27 is. This is just like what we just did.
It's a good thing I was going last time. All of it. I'm using not all of it. Alright, so I just set mine up. I got 4x over x to the 2/3.
coefficient wise, this is 4 divided by an understood 1. So you're going to keep a 4. Then my base is x, x. So I'm going to keep an x. What do you do with exponents on division? Subtract. So you've got 1 minus 2/3. What's 1 minus 2/3? A third. That's it. That's your number 1 answer. Okay, now for our number 2 answer, we got to do 4 times 27 to the 1/3. 27 to the 1/3, that's power over root. So that just means the cube root of 27, that's 3. 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. So I got 3 times 4 gets you 12. Plus minus? No, because I did an odd root, cube root. Good job.
Wait, how did you get 12? What did you do?
You
Like,
type it in the calculator.
that's what I did, but I didn't get.
27 is
Oh,
3.
wait, no, I got it. I got it.
bro.
Okay.
So we're doing the back end of that. Or is it just reassured?
Wait, no, I didn't get it. Hold on. Oh, yes, I did get it. Never mind. Okay. Yeah. Okay. No.
I don't have to mess it up like that. You know, like,
Yeah, it's already doing it.
yeah, actually, it's not much better.
Okay.
Like I said,
We're the only two awake. We're suffering.
Or we divide them.
Alright, what I need from you here is that you're going to answer this in your classroom. There's a spot to answer this in your classroom for you. What I'm doing to make it easier on you typing, I'm skipping my number 1. You don't have to actually type to me what f plus g of x is, but you do have to get an f plus g of x and then plug a 16 in it. So you're going to get just a number answer for me that you're going to type in your classroom. You need this answer, but you don't have to type it. Okay, so you with me on that? So you got to figure out, add these, figure out what f plus g of x is, then plug a 16 in, get a number answer, and enter that in your classroom.
Wouldn't the square roots just cancel out?
This is like the very first one we did when you weren't in here. Those are like black terms. -5 of them plus 19 of them gives you so many of them.
Are those 4s up there?
Yeah, 4th roots, yeah.